What did studying Quentin Tarantino teach you about storytelling?
What did Quentin teach me about storytelling? That his attention to detail on every level, I think that's what Quentin taught me. Like, you have to pay attention to everything. It's all important. The fact that he has the kangaroo from Pulp Fiction on the shelf in Jackie Brown, and I believe in Hateful Eight. Those little things. Not only is it cool, but it's cool here. You know, you're like, oh, because that kangaroo meant so much back then. In Pulp Fiction to bring it now and gives the viewer something to look forward to. I mean, that's his type of thing. But what's another example of the detail? Uma's shoes, her little Tiger Asics, which I've got little white ones on. When she walks across the glass, I think it says "fuck you" on the bottom of it, or "fuck off," one or the other. Like little things like that speaks to her character is amazing. You don't notice as it floats by, maybe, but we still pick it up as humans, right? Our brains still, maybe not the "fuck you" on the sneaker specifically, but the attention to detail shows, right? I should think of another good example of that. But there's nothing out of place in a Tarantino script or a Tarantino film, or even in his marketing. I mean, he's a master pretty much across all aspects of filmmaking. And I think that's what I learned about what I hope to carry with me is the attention to detail.
And then there's also the part of Quentin where people want to hear him speak. He's his own. Same with like Kevin Smith, where like they're so fascinating to listen to.
They are fascinating, and that's not true with a lot of directors, but those two, yes, and definitely
right.
Quentin.
Like there's no subject that
he
you're
loves
not going
it
to get
so much. Again, when you're listening to somebody or watching somebody do what they love to do, or talk about something that they love, and they're that knowledgeable about it, you're just engrossed. It's amazing. He's fantastic. So here's a great example. I'm not an F1 fan, right? I don't follow it. Senna's my favorite documentary. I love that documentary. It's so good. I don't care about the racing, right? So this is why I like revisiting Tarantino films, whether you're a fan or not, to sit and just look at the majesty that he creates is fascinating. He's just fascinating.
Right. And you had said something in an interview that he pays attention to detail, and he'll go, I think you use the example of a pub and listen to people speak. Mm. How much research did you put in on Quentin and also on Rick? Just you were already a fan of their films, you knew their work, but I mean, how much more were you doing?
Not a lot, actually, and I was very specific not to. I watched their films. I didn't want to know about personal stuff. I didn't want to dig into. I didn't want to know that stuff. So again, going back to that innocence and the stories to come out as I sat with people, I wanted that to be fresh to me and what resonated, so that if I heard that in the news somewhere else or read it somewhere, it would have been, I feel like, diluted. So I was very careful to not. Or I fought not looking at certain things, right? Because there's great books on Quentin and on his style and on his history. And I almost did. I was like, maybe I should be better informed, but it's somebody else's opinion of, and I just kind of wanted whoever I was sitting with. I wanted theirs. I didn't want another opinion to be in my brain. Or something to be said, and I've heard it elsewhere, so I dismiss it, right? So I was very careful to not do too much research.
Yeah, I find that interesting because it's sometimes very helpful in getting the best out of someone because there's a sense of discovery with it. If you know too much, and then again, in the personal life, I find that clouds information
we know
too.
just being in the world, you hear about Quentin Tarantino, right?
Sure.
So there's already enough there that you almost have to, put your muffs on to not hear about him when a film comes out or people talking about filmmaking ever in general, or daily life actually comes out. So there's enough out there about Quentin. I didn't want to flood more.
Right. Yeah,
I have
find that's
sins.
helpful. Yeah, it's fine
As soon
afterwards.
as it's
Yeah,
done,
I know,
I'm like,
but not.
I'm going to eat it all.
Right, but in the moment, I agree. I think that sometimes knowing who someone's spouse is or whatever, it clouds the interview because now you have that in your mind. If you don't know that personal stuff, then now you're just talking about the work. If that's what you're there for. If you're there for something where it's more personal, then it would be different. But if it's about the work, I agree. I think that would be
So a great
tricky.
example actually is with regard to Uma. So there's so much in the news about Uma. And after the car accident, they've fallen out, they hate each other. There's so many different stories about that relationship. And when the truth came out from Uma, it was, okay, that's what the truth is, right? So, and actually she came out and said something out post the Weinstein stuff. I don't have issue with Quentin. I have issue with the fact that the footage was withheld from me. Oh. Right? And they had a falling out. It was a terrible thing that happened. And life happens, right?
Sure.
But they have since come back to each other and they're friends and what have you. So if I did do too much investigating into that story, there's a lot of conjecture out there about it. And it may have skewed how I took what I learned in the process.
Right, and also even reading comments, I think, can skew, because sometimes you're not sure, where is this person someone on the inside? Right. Is it just some person that's delusional?
Who actually is close to that person,
right.
where they have the correct information, There's a lot of voices
right,
in the world today, especially with social media and such.
So then your advice maybe for another documentarian is go in, but don't go in blind, of course, but then don't go in maybe with too much because it's better for the discovery?
I think so. With regard to people, right?
That's a good point.
Right. If you're documenting, if it's a historical documentary or something like that, that's much different. Obviously, I'd read everything on that subject, right? And then you balance out everything you take in. But I think when it comes to people, our culture isn't very respectful of that. So in order to be respectful, I think you need to hear it from the person, right? I don't think the research applies necessarily.